Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. Cole Harrington never thought a single morning could rewrite the entire meaning of his marriage. But that day began with a feeling he couldn't shake, a tension in the air, an instinct that something in his life had quietly shifted behind his back. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was subtle, like a door closing somewhere far away, but he felt it in his chest. His wife, Lena, moved around the kitchen like someone racing the clock, not someone talking to her husband. She used to greet him with a kiss on the cheek, a soft laugh, a warm touch. Now she barely offered a glance. Got an early class? Cole asked, watching her tie her hair into a tight ponytail. Yeah, the studio added a new morning session, she replied quickly, slinging her gym bag over her shoulder. I'll be busy for a while. I'll call you after. Her tone was clipped, practiced, the kind of voice someone uses when they're trying not to reveal too much. Cole noticed, but he didn't push. For months he'd been trying to understand the invisible wall growing between them, the one she pretended didn't exist. Lena had become a different version of herself lately. More polished, more distant, more unreachable. Her phone never left her hand. She angled the screen away whenever a notification appeared. She started buying new outfits for yoga. She wore perfume to classes that supposedly made her sweat for 90 minutes straight. Cole tried to ignore it, tried to blame stress, work, routine, anything but the growing fear that something sacred between them had been tampered with. She offered him a rushed smile before heading toward the door. Don't wait up for me, she said lightly. These practice sessions run long. All right, Cole replied, though the word tasted uneasy in his mouth. The door closed behind her. Silence followed, and for the first time in years, their home didn't feel like home. Cole went about his morning, but nothing settled right. He managed a small woodworking shop downtown, crafting custom furniture for clients who appreciated detail, precision, and heart. He normally loved it. The smell of sawdust, the rhythm of tools, the creativity it demanded. But that morning, he felt off balance, like he was standing in a space where something invisible hovered just out of view. Every time he paused, Lena's hurried tone replayed in his head. Her laugh had changed recently. Her hugs felt forced. Her excuses were becoming predictable, rehearsed. Throughout the afternoon, Cole checked his phone more than usual. No texts, no missed calls, no class ended, updates like she used to send. Nothing. By late afternoon, he had convinced himself he was imagining it, that he was overthinking, that maybe she really was stressed and needed space. He closed the workshop early, heading home to rest. But the moment he stepped inside, something unexpected happened. The living room TV blinked awake, not because he turned it on, but because it paired with a device automatically. Lena's AirPods. Her AirPods had just connected to their home TV, even though she wasn't home. Cole froze. The TV screen displayed the device name, Lena's AirPods connected. A cold sensation crawled up his spine. If her AirPods were connected here, then she had to be close. Very close. Except she wasn't. His pulse quickened. Before he touched the remote, the house filled with the faintest murmur coming from the speakers, quiet, muffled sounds that didn't belong to yoga, meditation, or any wholesome explanation she would ever dare give. He didn't turn the volume up yet. He didn't need to, because the first sound he heard was a man's voice, low and unmistakably intimate, too close to her microphone. Cole's hand hovered over the remote, trembling, not from fear but from the realization that his instincts had been right all along. Something inside him hardened. He pressed record on the TV. Not a word left his mouth. Nothing but a steady, focused silence. Because whatever this was, Lena wasn't going to talk her way out of it. He wasn't done listening. And she had no idea her lies had just connected themselves to the wrong device. Cole didn't touch the remote for a long moment. He just stood there, breathing slowly, letting the truth settle into his bones. Betrayal has a way of numbing the world around you. Every sound in the house felt too sharp, every shadow too still. The woodworking shop smelled like honesty. His home suddenly didn't. When he finally raised the volume a little, just enough to hear, not enough to shake, the clarity of the situation hit him with a force he couldn't describe. There was no yoga class, no calming breaths or quiet chants. No stretching or meditation. The muffled background noises coming through the speakers were unmistakably from a hotel room. He recognized the faint hum of an AC unit, the beeping of an elevator in the distance, and the soft click of a door chain sliding into place. And then he heard her, Lena's voice, breathy, laughing, unguarded, the way she hadn't sounded with him in months. A man responded to her, his voice too close to her microphone, too comfortable. Their conversation wasn't explicit, but it didn't need to be. The tone alone revealed everything. The intimacy, the betrayal, the familiarity of two people who had done this before. Cole's jaw tightened, but he didn't explode. He didn't yell. He didn't slam anything. That wasn't who he was. Instead, he reached for his phone and snapped a picture of the TV screen showing Lena's AirPods connected with the audio feed running. Proof. Clean, unemotional, undeniable proof. He recorded 30 seconds. Just voices. Nothing inappropriate. Only the kind of whispered closeness that betrayed her lies. Then he muted the TV. He didn't need to hear more. He already had everything he needed. But rather than let heartbreak crush him, something else rose inside. Something cold, steady, almost focused. If Lena had stepped out of their marriage, she had also stepped out of the safety of thinking Cole would be blind forever. He sat on the couch, fingers steepled beneath his chin, letting a plan take shape, not out of spite, but out of clarity. He wasn't a man who rushed. He built things carefully, piece by piece, letting every detail align. Betrayal deserved the same precision. But before revenge, he needed understanding. Why him? When did this start? How long had she been lying? He thought back over the past months. Her new yoga outfits, her sudden fascination with late-night classes, her new perfume, the tight-lipped explanations, the weekends where she wanted space, the hollow affection she offered on autopilot. And then something else clicked into place. Her recent craving for emotional validation from strangers online. Her newfound confidence that felt borrowed, not earned. Someone was feeding that. Someone was manipulating it. And now he knew who. Still, Cole didn't break. He didn't cry. He didn't confront. Not yet. Confrontation gave the guilty time to hide their tracks, twist narratives, make excuses. Instead, he walked into their bedroom and pulled out a small lockbox from the closet. Inside it were neatly organized documents, bank records, house papers, the business ledger for Harrington Woodworks, even the insurance policy Lena insisted they upgrade last year. He reviewed them with calm precision. There were no suspicious withdrawals from his accounts, but Lena had opened a new credit card he never knew about. That explained her sudden shopping sprees disguised as studio upgrades and new mats. She had built two lives, and Cole had funded both without knowing. He set the papers aside and looked around the room, their shared life now heavy with questions he never asked. A picture of them on their anniversary sat on her nightstand. She wasn't even looking at him in the photo. She was smiling at something past the camera, a smile he mistook for happiness. He exhaled slowly. His heart wasn't naive anymore, and his next move would change everything. Later that evening, as sunlight dimmed across the neighborhood, Cole heard the familiar rattle of Lena's key in the front door. She always walked in with a cheerful sigh, like she had just finished saving the world. Tonight was no different. "Hey, babe," she called out casually, tossing her bag on the floor. "You home?" Cole sat at the dining table, back straight, hands folded, expression unreadable. Lena froze when she saw him. Something in her eyes flickered. Guilt, fear, paranoia. It was hard to tell which. "You're home early," she said too lightly. "So are you," Cole replied calmly. Her throat tightened. "Class ended early today." He nodded once. "You enjoy it?" Her face tensed to the word enjoy. Yeah, it was fine. He didn't expose anything. He didn't ask questions. He simply watched her. And that terrified her more than any accusation could. Lena shifted her weight, forcing a shaky laugh. "Why are you looking at me like that?" "Just thinking," he said quietly, leaning back in his chair, "about how people say the truth always find a way home." She blinked, trying to decipher his meaning. She couldn't. "Not yet." "Dinner?" she asked weakly. "Not hungry." The silence thickened, her guilt rising like fog. Cole wasn't ready to strike. He wasn't done preparing, because the moment she realized what he knew, His revenge would already be halfway finished. Lena moved around the living room like she was trying not to disturb a sleeping animal. Quiet steps, careful breaths, eyes flicking toward Cole every few seconds. She didn't know what he knew, but she sensed enough to fear the silence wrapping around him. Cole wasn't the type to sulk or brood. He was steady, predictable, gentle. But now, that predictability crumbled into something sharper. Controlled, calculating, and Lena could feel it. "Cole, is everything okay?" she finally asked, pretending to fix the throw pillows, her voice too soft for someone who claimed she had just returned from a workout. He didn't look up. "Depends. On what?" "Honesty," he replied simply. It wasn't an accusation. It wasn't loud, but the word landed between them like a dropped weight. Lena's fingers tightened around the pillow. She set it down with a forced smile. "Well, I've always been honest," she lied easily, but her voice cracked on the last word. Cole didn't respond. He wasn't giving her anything. No clues, no openings, no reaction she could manipulate. Instead, he stood, walked past her, and headed for the back porch. "I'm going to clear my head," he said. "Busy day tomorrow." That was the part that rattled her. Not his words, but the calmness behind them. Because calm meant he wasn't confused. Calm meant he wasn't clueless. Calm meant he already knew something. And that terrified her. Cole woke before sunrise, long before Lena stirred. He made coffee quietly and sat at the kitchen counter, already dressed for the shop, waiting for her to come downstairs. He had a plan now, not born from anger, but from clarity. When Lena finally entered the kitchen, her makeup was already done, her hair styled too nicely for someone headed to yoga class. She stood straighter than usual, like she was preparing for an interrogation she hoped wouldn't happen. "Morning," she said with exaggerated brightness. Cole sipped his coffee. "Morning." She glanced at him. "You're up early. So are you." Her throat bobbed. "Yeah, the studio added another morning workshop. I signed up last night." He murmured. "Busy schedule." Lena forced a smile. "Yeah, self-care, right?" Cole held her gaze for a moment, long enough for her to look away first. She grabbed her bag and started heading for the door. But before she left, Cole said evenly, "Drive safe." Lena paused mid-step. Normally, he would have said it warmly, casually. Today the words were flat, deliberate, like a warning that only she could interpret. "Thanks," she whispered shakily, then left. The moment the door shut, Cole exhaled, slow and steady. Not because he was hurting, because phase one of his plan had begun. Cole spent the next hours gathering information with steady patience. He drove to the workshop, but didn't open it. Instead, he sat in his truck and pulled out his laptop. He logged into the phone account they shared, a plan Lena always assumed he never bothered checking. Her call logs told stories she never thought he'd read. Frequent calls to an unknown number. Repeated short calls right before yoga class. Long gaps of radio silence that made sense only now. Then came the pattern. The same number calling her every evening after she claimed she was at the studio. Cole copied the number into a search service. A name popped up immediately. Eric Mason. Age 38. Local real estate broker. Married. Cole's eyes hardened. So Lena didn't just break her vows. She tangled herself with a man who broke his too. That explained the secrecy, the sneaking, the new outfits, the sudden interest in solo activities. But Cole didn't stop there. He needed timing, consistency, predictability, the blueprint of their affair. He checked Lena's location history. The one she forgot was synced to their shared cloud. Over the past 4 weeks, 3 addresses repeated every Tuesday and Friday. A boutique hotel off Highway 62. A private studio rental. A coffee shop 2 towns over. Not once did she appear at the actual yoga studio she claimed to attend. Cole closed the laptop slowly, absorbing the full truth. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was a routine, a second life she built with precision. And she had no idea her AirPods had handed him every secret. Cole wasn't going to expose her with screaming or dramatic confrontation. That wasn't his style. Screaming ended arguments. Evidence ended marriages. He drove home in silence, rehearsing nothing, because he wasn't going to talk. He was going to show. That evening, when Lena returned, again too early for a class, she found Cole at his workbench in the garage, sanding a piece of mahogany. He didn't even look up as she walked in. You didn't open today? She asked hesitantly. Had things to handle. Oh, okay. She shifted nervously. Do you want to talk about anything? No. The simplicity of his answer made her inhale sharply. Cole, you're scaring me. He paused his sanding, finally looking at her. I shouldn't have to scare you, Lena, he said quietly. Not if everything is the way you say it is. Her knees wobbled. She leaned against the doorway. What do you mean? But Cole simply returned to his work, running the sandpaper in long, controlled strokes, as if he had all the time in the world. Because he did. He wasn't confronting her today. He wasn't even angry today. He was letting her paranoia cook. Because paranoia cracks people long before proof does. Lena swallowed hard. Sensing a storm she could neither see nor outrun. And she was right. Cole's revenge hadn't even begun. But when it did, she would feel every quiet step of it. Lena barely slept that night. Cole's silence followed her like a shadow. Quiet, emotionless, impossible to interpret. He didn't touch her. He didn't question her. He didn't argue. He simply watched, and that was enough to unravel every lie she had carefully built. By morning, her nerves were frayed. She stepped into the kitchen, expecting Cole to be gone. Instead, he was sitting at the table with a calm, almost unsettling composure, sipping his coffee, work clothes already on. Morning, she whispered. He nodded once. Morning. No warmth. No softness. Just acknowledgement. Lena swallowed. Do you want breakfast? No. Another cold, measured answer. Her voice quivered. Cole, you're making me really uncomfortable. He set down his mug and met her eyes, not with anger, but with clarity. You know what makes people uncomfortable? He asked quietly. Truth they're not ready to admit. She froze, breath caught in her throat. Before she could respond, Cole stood, grabbed his keys, and headed for the garage. I'll be back later, he said simply. And then he left her alone with her guilt, again. Cole didn't go to the workshop. He drove somewhere else, straight to the boutique hotel off Highway 62. He walked into the lobby with confidence, his phone in his pocket, the recorded audio saved and secured. He approached the front desk with a polite smile. Hi, I think my wife might have left something here during her stay last week. Could you check if she was here? Her name is Lena Harrington. The clerk typed quickly. Yes, she checked in. Oh, several times. Cole's jaw didn't clench. His voice didn't shake. Could I get the receipts? She said she needed them for reimbursement. The clerk printed them without question, signed with Lena's name, and Eric Mason's. Cole took the receipts, thanked her, and left, calm, steady, unbroken. He finally had every piece he needed. That evening, Cole returned home earlier than usual. Lena was pacing the living room like a trapped animal, wringing her hands. Cole, we need to talk, she said shakily. We will, he replied, walking past her. He placed his laptop on the dining table and opened a folder. He didn't hide the screen. He wanted her to see every file name. Hotel receipts, location logs, call history, AirPods recording. Her face drained of color instantly. Cole, please. He raised a hand, stopping her from speaking. His voice remained calm, almost gentle, which somehow made it worse. I don't need explanations. You built a second life, and you thought I wouldn't notice. I did. Tears welled in her eyes. I made a mistake. No, he said firmly. A mistake happens once. You repeated it. You planned it. You hid it. That's not a mistake. She covered her mouth, sobbing. Can we fix this? Can we go to counseling? I'll stop seeing him. You already did stop, Cole replied. What? I haven't. He turned the laptop around. She saw the documents, then saw something else. A typed letter addressed to Eric Mason's wife. Her knees nearly buckled. You didn't, she whispered. I did, Cole said quietly. Because she deserves the truth too. Lena sobbed harder, sinking onto the chair. Cole, please don't ruin everything. You ruined everything, he replied, voice steady but deeply wounded. I'm just ending the part where I keep pretending. She reached for him, crying uncontrollably, but he stepped back. I'll send her the letter tomorrow, he said. After that, you and I will talk about dividing everything fairly. Her chest heaved. You're leaving me. No, Cole corrected gently. You left me months ago. Today, I'm just catching up. Lena collapsed into tears, the weight of her actions swallowing her whole. Cole walked out of the room, calm and free, Not because he wasn't hurting, but because he finally understood something. Betrayal had taken his marriage, but revenge had given him back his power. And for the first time in months, Cole Harrington felt whole again.